Guys, we're live. Welcome to Monday night. This is week 2. Can you shut the door, please, Susan? Thank you. Week 2 of our 28 days till Christmas. I'm real excited. Lots of good stuff going on. Susan and I were able to get the tree up yesterday. Sorry, guys. I was just taking a quick drink. We got the tree up on Saturday, actually, and decorated everything outside. And then yesterday, I was able to get a nice workout. Michael and I walked down to the beach. If you follow us on Facebook, you probably saw the picture of Michael and I down at the beach. And then I came home and made a delicious leg of lamb, which went really, really well. If anybody wants a recipe, I'll make sure you get it. Lamb is one of my favorite meats because it's a grass-fed animal and has no hormones, no steroids, no antibiotics. So it's a very healthy meal. We get ours from Australia, and that means, or New Zealand rather, and that means they're eating non-GMO grass, which is even better. Because if you have an animal that's eating genetically modified grass, it's going to affect the meat, and then that gets passed on to you. So, you know, it's better though that they're not eating grains. You ever notice the expensive dog food now is grain-free? Why do you think that is? No fillers, no cheap fillers. Okay, so you're getting just meat, which is what animals are supposed to eat. You know, these carnivores like dogs and cats. So that's why I'm so strong against the grain-fed cows, because cows aren't supposed to eat grain. I know cows are not carnivores, but unfortunately, mad cow disease came from cows unfortunately eating other cows, and that has been done away. But even still, we have cows eating a predominantly grain diet, corn and soy, and cows aren't supposed to eat grain. They're ruminants. They're supposed to eat grass. They have 4 stomachs. They're able to actually regurgitate the grass, and that's what they call chewing their cud, right? So they eat it and they regurgitate it, they chew it again, they continue to break it down. That's how they're supposed to eat, and they're supposed to live. And when you start giving them grain, you cause a huge amount of acid, and you give a cow acid reflux, for lack of better terms. So they end up getting gastritis. So there's another way to get the veterinarians and the pharmaceutical industry involved in our meat, in our dairy. So we don't want that. Well, it's 8 o'clock. Everyone's diving in. Susan's in the other room. She always monitors my calls to make sure everything that you should be hearing, you are hearing, and everything you should be seeing, you are seeing. So tonight's talk is about sleep and hormones. Insomnia, hormone imbalance, or sleeplessness is both a cause and an effect. And here we see a friendly little seal taking a nap at the aquarium. He looks very comfortable. And that's how we should all look when we're sleeping. Everybody should be nice and comfortable. I'm going to actually just chat for another minute because I can see some people are still coming on. If you need something to drink, grab something to drink. I'm going to take my last little chug out of this. I'm drinking some Hydrate. Give myself a little 30-second commercial here on Hydrate. The #1 sports drink out there is what? Gatorade, right? Everybody knows that. They spend millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars advertising that. If you are an athletic trainer at a high school, there's a very good chance at the beginning of the year you get 2 big 5-gallon orange Gatorade coolers, and they probably ship you out, let's throw a number out there, $200 or $300 worth of Gatorade product, these big pouches that fit a 5-gallon container. And they probably weigh, I don't know, let's throw a number out there. Probably weigh about 2 pounds, this pouch, okay, for 5 gallons. With Hydrate, you can do the same thing with a 5-gallon container, but I think it's probably like somewhere around 12 ounces. So 12 ounces is obviously a whole lot less than 2 pounds. So why is the Gatorade pouch 2 pounds and the Hydrate container only like about 12 ounces? The difference is sugar. high fructose corn syrup. Okay, that and a lot of artificial colors, a lot of artificial flavors, and high fructose corn syrup is what you get in Gatorade. And in Hydrate, we use vitamins, minerals, electrolytes, and stevia. So there's a big difference in the hormonal effect of drinking Gatorade versus the hormonal effect of drinking Hydrate. So I drink Hydrate because I don't want to cause my blood sugar to become erratic. All right, it's 2 minutes after 8. My Hydrate commercial's over, and plus the fact my kids like it and they drink it, and my son is a big Hydrate fan. So let's get this party started here. So sleep and hormones. Well, basically, hormonal imbalance resulting from perimenopause, menopause, adrenal fatigue, or any of its symptoms may cause sleeplessness, in which it turns worse, which in turn worsens the hormonal imbalance. I'm not going to get ahead of myself here. If I don't mention something that I want to mention, because I tend to talk before the slide comes up, and then I say, oh, I just talked about that. I don't want to do that. So at the end, if anyone has any questions or concerns, as always, you can feel free to interject. So sleeplessness also has many other non-hormonal related causes. These hormonal and non-hormonal causes of insomnia include chronic stress, night sweats, adrenal fatigue, anxiety, and dietary habits. So let's kind of break this down. Look at this poor guy. His 2 cups of coffee looks like he's ready to pass out. He did pass out. So insomnia in women causes hormonal imbalance and worsens the symptoms of menopause because the body needs sleep for the body's hormones to do their job properly. Sleep is absolutely essential for repair and rejuvenation. Poor sleep habits can predispose people to an early death by the way of obesity, heart disease, diabetes, and cancer. So let's talk a little bit more about sleep and hormones. Hormones have no chance to do their healing work without sleep. When you lose sleep, you really can't catch up. Your hormones just don't spring back to life like that. Sleeping less than you need affects at least 10 different hormones, causing them to shift and disrupt appetite, fertility, mental health, as well as cardiac health. Sleep is essential to maintain proper hormonal balance and health. Insomnia hormones include estrogen and testosterone. So let's talk a little bit about estrogen. Estrogen is a sleep-maintaining hormone. It is common to have an estrogen deficiency in your perimenopause and menopause when your body is not producing enough natural estrogen. Your ability to get a full night's sleep suffers as a result. Now, a lack of testosterone is also an issue for women. Diminished testosterone is linked with snoring and sleep apnea, a repetitive interruption of breath during sleeping. Developing healthy sleep habits also prevents insomnia. Developing a bedtime routine and going to sleep around the same time each night helps your body form good sleep tendencies. It is also a good idea to remove distractions or anything likely to disturb your sleep from your bedroom, and this could include a television or pets. Well, obviously Susan doesn't feel that way because here we have Susan with her favorite little cat, Mr. Bates here. And he seems to behave unless it's about 6 o'clock in the morning and he starts hitting Susan in the head to wake her up because he's hungry. Last night he brought a toy up into our room and decided he wanted to play at 2 or 3 in the morning. So I usually get up and I will go ahead and close the door so poor Mr. Bates can't get in. Let him go bother Molly instead. Okay. Though it seems strange, it is important to get up and walk around when you find that you're tossing and turning and having a hard time getting to sleep. This is because it is important not to allow your body or mind to associate your bed with sleeplessness. So I'll tell you from my own experience, when I have trouble falling asleep, the thing that puts me back to sleep is I go downstairs, I turn on the television, I get my pillow and my blanket, and I fall back to sleep because my sleep issues has nothing to do so much with hormones, has to do with me thinking about what I have to do the next day and certain anxieties that I deal with, and that's no secret. So For me, what puts me back to sleep is the distraction of a television. So I know I just said get the TV out of the room, and that's true for most nights with me. But when I have trouble falling back to sleep and I'm looking at the clock and it's 12 o'clock, 12:30, 1 o'clock, and I can't go back to sleep, I just go downstairs and put the TV on. Now, on the picture on the right, that's not Susan, but that's what Susan does when she gets up. She goes downstairs and makes sure the kitchen's straightened up. Or maybe she'll do something else cleaning related, because that's what that's what she likes to do when she gets up. So we all have our strategies, but the important thing is not to lay in bed and stare at the ceiling for hours on end. Get up and do something. Maybe go downstairs and read. Maybe that would help. But electronics are probably not the way to go. So I wouldn't sit there and pull my iPad out. Okay. Relief from insomnia and balanced hormones provide several benefits. Sound sleep grants a reduced risk of high blood pressure, diabetes, obesity, and depression. Okay. When testosterone is balanced, slow wave or deep sleep is easier to achieve. If you sleep enough each night, you can lose weight as a result of a decrease in your cortisol level. Well, good. We'll talk a little bit about cortisol in a little bit. Furthermore, greater sleep length is associated with a reduced incidence of breast cancer, and people who nap for 30 minutes at least 3 times a week had a 37% lower chance of heart attack. So those siestas are not a bad idea if you can do that. Now, most of us go off and work in an office all day, so that's probably not something we can do. But you certainly can take advantage of that on the weekends. And some people don't need it. I really don't nap during the day, and I don't think I miss it. So I'm sure that's not going to affect my chance of heart attack, because I do other things to avoid heart attack, like not drinking alcohol, not smoking. I exercise, and all my blood levels are normal. Neurological repair during sleep. This is really, really important. Some experts believe sleep gives neurons used while we are awake a chance to shut down and repair themselves. Without sleep, neurons may become so depleted in energy or so polluted with byproducts of normal cellular activities that they begin to malfunction. Sleep also may give the brain a chance to exercise important neuronal connections that might otherwise deteriorate from lack of activity. Okay, I'm going to take a time out here because I don't think I mentioned it later. But an important thing to know is this. When you're sleeping, the cells in your brain can actually shrink slightly. So it increases the amount of cerebral spinal fluid that moves through the brain. That is almost like, quote unquote, backwashing your brain. It helps to eliminate eliminate some of the toxins of the metabolic process of the brain while you sleep. And I find that pretty incredible if you really think about it, that we kind of like backwash our brain, but that's exactly what happens. Now, I also mentioned that some of the neurons are going to go through repair, and some of them shut down because of that lack of activity. And just something, a little side note, I thought was very, very interesting. People don't realize how dolphins sleep. Dolphins keep moving because they have to get up and down out of the water to breathe. And dolphins can actually have half their brain sleep and the other half stay conscious, so they can surface and breathe during the night when they're quote unquote sleeping, and then they can reverse that process. Thought that was pretty interesting. Just throwing that out there to you. Let's talk about sleep apnea and insomnia in men. And it seems to be a little more significant in men. The cause of insomnia in men often varies significantly from the causes of insomnia in women. Low testosterone associated with andropause, or the male menopause, can contribute to sleep apnea in men, leading to insomnia or sleeplessness. So let's talk a little bit about sleep apnea, because this is something that affects more people than you think. Sleep apnea is the interruption of or difficulty breathing during sleep. It affects approximately 9% of adult males and is more common in obese males. The inhibited breathing and loud snoring common of sleep apnea tends to disrupt sleep many times throughout the night. When testosterone levels are in the optimal range, slow wave or deep sleep is easier to achieve. Thus, there is an improvement in sleep in various ways when testosterone levels are optimal in men. Insomnia in men resulting from low testosterone and sleep apnea can lead to several other problems, including fatigue, reduced insulin sensitivity, and that's insulin sensitivity in the muscles. Our fat cells never become insulin resistant. They're always highly sensitive, and that's for self-preservation. Low human growth hormone levels and high cortisol levels. Cortisol, the stress hormone, will increase with prolonged insomnia because of the stress on the body. Constant high levels of cortisol can create a hormonal pattern that further reduces testosterone production. It can also lead to adrenal fatigue, which often worsens the fatigue and the insomnia. Human growth hormone is naturally made during the first 90 minutes of sleep. Therefore, if your sleep is disrupted, your growth hormone production is reduced. This can lead to lower levels of testosterone and lower lean body mass. So that's why it's important to sleep if you're trying to lose weight and increase your lean body mass. Sleep is also very important for proper insulin sensitivity and glucose control. If sleep is disrupted, the body stops utilizing insulin as effectively, and the body begins to need more and more insulin to control blood sugar. This leads to weight gain and a pre-diabetic state that, if not managed, can lead to diabetes. So we're starting to really see the importance of how important sleep really is with regards to hormonal balance, to cardiac status, to blood sugar stability, okay, and weight loss or weight gain. Sorry. Okay, so let's get back to sleep apnea a little bit. Okay, so obstructive sleep apnea is caused by obstructed breathing, either due to too much tissue, as seen in obesity, or decreased muscle tone, which may be seen with low testosterone. This inhibits the airflow in the mouth and the nose and causes snoring and decreased ability for adequate oxygenation during sleep. As a result, men often wake up numerous times during the night and rarely achieve a deep sleep. Now, what do we know? Excuse me. What do we know about someone who has increased body fat and they're obese? Well, we know that that causes low testosterone, and that increases the amount of estrogen. So it actually exaggerates a man's ability to gain stored body fat with the estrogen levels going up and the testosterone going down. So it's almost like a downward spiral. You know, we're having trouble sleeping. We're having some sleep apnea. That's going to cause you to increase your levels of obesity, decrease muscle tone. It's just, you really need to kind of turn this whole thing around. And that's why when Susan and I talk to people about the 5 things we help you with at KM Fitness, the first one is sleep. If we don't fix this, you can see how it's next to impossible to fix anything else. So people say, I just want to lose 10 pounds, or just want to, get in better shape. Well, let's start with sleep. If we can get this part fixed, we can start to fix the other things. But if we don't get this part fixed, nothing's going to work. So let's talk about some other things you can use to help you fall asleep and stay asleep. Now, melatonin is a natural hormone that helps regulate the sleep-wake cycle of circadian rhythms. Find a supplement that combines melatonin with 2 other ingredients, 5-HTP and L-theanine. So we advocate, obviously, the ID Life sleep strips. I'll get into a little bit more about that in a few minutes. Why is it important? This is a question that comes up. Why is it important that you have the 5-HTP and the L-theanine? Well, earlier we were talking about cortisol levels. You're stressed out, you're having trouble falling asleep, you have high cortisol levels. We know that we need to get cortisol levels down in order for the melatonin to take effect. I want you to think about sitting on top of a fort or a fortress, okay? And the enemy's coming over the hill and it's 1 o'clock in the morning. Well, your stress levels are going to be pretty high. Your cortisol levels are going to be high. Why? Because we want to suppress sleep for self-preservation. Can't defend the fort if you're asleep. So as long as your stress levels are high and your cortisol levels are high, your body's going to suppress melatonin. You can take all the melatonin in the world. It's not going to work if your stress level's high. It's kind of like spitting on a fire. Doesn't do anything. Your house is on fire. You can spit all you want. You're not putting it out. So the first thing you need to do is lower your stress levels. Now, I don't think there's any enemies coming over the hill, and no one I know on this call is sitting on top of a fortress. So we got to get those stress levels down to help you fall asleep. So if you take something with 5-HTP and L-theanine in it, we naturally lower your cortisol levels. Your body will naturally start to increase the secretion and utilization of melatonin, and that's how we help you fall asleep and stay asleep. But we got some other things too. There's a great product out there. It's bedtime or sleepy time tea, chamomile tea. Again, that really helps you to fall asleep. The kava plant is a member of the pepper family and has been shown to relieve anxiety. Both kava and valerian root improve sleep in people with stress-related insomnia. GABA is another one. It activates a major calming neurotransmitters, promoting relaxation and reducing anxiety. But the body has difficulty absorbing supplements containing synthesized GABA. That's why experts recommend theanine, which the body can easily absorb and ultimately use to boost levels of GABA. And that's exactly what we use in the ID Life sleep strips. Valerian root has been used as a sedative and anti-anxiety treatment for more than 2,000 years. And last but not least is magnesium. Along with contributing to a good night's sleep, this light, silvery, metallic element is an oft-overlooked nutrient that helps maintain normal muscle and nerve function, helps keep heart rhythm steady, supports a healthy immune system, and keeps bones strong. Calcium also helps regulate blood sugar levels and promotes normal blood pressure, according to the NIH. Lack of magnesium inhibits nerve cell communication, which leads to cell excitability. So, what can I tell you about this before we move on any further? Okay. In addition to us promoting the ID Life sleep strips, which I'll talk about a little bit more in a couple of minutes, we also have vitamins, minerals, and supplements through ID Life, and we call it ID Nutrition. And before you start taking any kind of vitamin, mineral supplement, you should know what you should be taking and how much of it you should be taking, and possibly what you shouldn't be taking. So in order to facilitate that, we have a ID Life health assessment that you could take. It's a HIPAA compliant assessment, and you answer a series of questions, and I think it's 28, matter of fact, I know it's 28 online questions in a questionnaire form, and at the end of that, it gives you a free report, and it gives you recommendations of what you should and shouldn't be taking. So if you indicate that you have insomnia, obviously in your formulation, you're going to see things like GABA, valerian root, magnesium. Surprise, right? Because the software that we use with ID Life is the same software that the pharmacist has at whatever pharmacy you go to. It basically, it allows them to identify what the needs of the client are and what nutraceuticals as opposed to pharmaceuticals you should be taking to help you, achieve sleep or whatever the case may be. Now, before I move on, let me just give you something else. A lot of people have talked to me about some of the prescription medications. Okay. I have a number of clients that have come off the prescription medications, and I don't tell them to come off. Their doctor allowed them to come off, or quite frankly, they took themselves off. And here's the reason. They were having issues at nighttime, waking up and walking and not remembering they got up and walked. And I have a client who almost fell down a whole flight of stairs in the middle of the night. And that really scared her tremendously. So she stopped taking her medication. She started with the ID Life sleep strips, and she's been able to fall asleep and stay asleep, and she uses them every night. So it works for someone who has come off of a prescription medication. Again, I'm not telling you to come off a prescription medication, but like I said, I can tell you a number of my clients who've come off of it, you started using the sleep strips, started taking ID nutrition, their vitamins, minerals, and supplements, and they've helped. It's helped them tremendously with their sleep. Now, what are some other natural ways to get your magnesium up? We have a whole series that we use with people who really have problems with insomnia. One of the causes of insomnia is unstable blood sugar. We talked about that earlier. So one of the ways that we help people stabilize their blood sugar is we use a product called Lean. Lean does not have any stimulants in it. It's basically branched-chain amino acids. Branched-chain amino acids are proteins that break down very, very quickly in the body and are converted to glucose. As we know, your brain needs sugar to function. So a lot of times, especially when people are on dietary correction diets, their blood sugar starts to become a little erratic. They're not burning fat, stored body fat effectively yet. They're kind of going through what we call a sputter effect. And sputter effect means you're moving from predominantly burning sugar to predominantly burning fat. But there's a process. It doesn't happen that quickly. It usually takes a day or two. And that will affect your sleep. So we tell people take 2 to 4 leans before you go to bed. That'll help keep your blood sugar balanced so you don't wake up at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning with that, my blood sugar is dropping out, my body's waking me up to go get something to eat. If you know any performance athletes, like a wrestler or a boxer or someone's in martial arts, anybody who has to keep a set body weight in order to compete, because in boxing and wrestling, there are weight classes that you participate in. So if you're at the 155-pound weight class, you have to weigh 155 pounds or less. So if it's the night before a wrestling match and you're 156 pounds, you might not have eaten dinner that night. You might have done what I used to do, eat a bunch of salad and try to go to sleep, and then wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning and walk around the house wondering why I can't fall back to sleep. It's because your brain is waking you up to feed. Okay, it's a problem. So when you're on any type of diet, or if you're a competitive athlete, you're burning blood sugar real quick, the Lean will help you to fall asleep and stay asleep. Hydrate, what do we know about hydrate? Vitamins, minerals. One of the big minerals hydrates contains is magnesium. So again, it'll help with sleep. And of course, the sleep strips. Now, a lot of people say, Mike, why a strip? Why not a pill? Very, very simple, okay? If you ingest a pill, it has to go down into your stomach, has to be processed in your intestines. It goes through a system called the hepatic portal system. Basically, takes the nutrients and runs it over to the liver. It's processed in the liver, and the liver determines what comes back into the bloodstream. Now, that whole process could take an hour. It's now 11 o'clock, you're tired, you want to fall asleep, can't fall asleep, you're stressed out, you're thinking about what's going to happen to the job tomorrow, and you have to talk to your boss or whatever the case may be. So even if you took the components of our sleep strips, it would still take an hour to work, as opposed to a strip that goes under your tongue. What do we know about under your tongue? You have capillary beds. And those capillary beds can absorb nutrients or whatever you put there very, very quickly. So our strips are designed to go under your tongue to be absorbed through those capillary beds, and allows you to get the L-theanine and the 5-HTP into your bloodstream very, very quickly. Helps to lower anxiety, get the melatonin kick along with the sleep product, because it has all 3 ingredients: melatonin, 5-HTP, and L-theanine. And it'll help you fall asleep and stay asleep. So for some people who have chronic insomnia, we've used the Lean and the Hydrate and the Sleep, and I will tell you it works extremely, extremely well. Just a little side note here about my clients who still smoke before they go to bed, especially my cigar people. And I know you're out there, so you've heard me say this before, you're gonna hear me say it again. The thing about cigars, people tell me all the time, is I don't inhale, okay? But remember what I just said about those capillary beds under your tongue, absorbing the nicotine Nicotine's a stimulant. You're still absorbing whatever's in that smoke. As long as it gets in your mouth, your capillaries have the ability to absorb it. So you may not think you're doing any harm because you're not, quote unquote, inhaling that cigar, but you are. And it's really limiting your ability to fall asleep and stay asleep. Okay, so don't smoke before you go to bed. Okay, let's drop down. I'm going to wrap this up in about 5 minutes, guys. Helpful sleep hints. Keep noise and light to a minimum. Use earplugs, window blinds, heavy curtains, or an eye mask. Make sure the room is cool, below 68 degrees. Small night lights in your bedroom and bathroom are a good idea so you don't trip over the cat in the middle of the night. Avoid large meals 2 hours before bedtime. A light snack is fine. Don't drink caffeine, including tea and soft drinks, 4 to 6 hours before bedtime. Regular exercise like walking will reduce stress hormone and help you sleep better. But don't exercise within 2 hours of bedtime. You may have more difficulty falling asleep. Don't nap late in the afternoon, like don't lay down at 5 o'clock and take a nap then, because you might not fall asleep that easily at nighttime. Stop working on any task an hour before bedtime to calm your brain. To my students out there, okay, don't try to pull an all-nighter. Your brain is incapable of absorbing and maintaining the information you try to put in at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. They don't work. I can back that up with a ton of research. Okay, do the work in class. Do your homework. That way you don't stay up all night and try to cram. Don't discuss emotional issues right before bedtime. My married people, do your best. I know Susan and I try not to have these discussions, and somehow they pop up. Oh, you know, tomorrow you have to do this and you have to do that. Keep pets outside your sleeping area if you can. Good luck with that one. My cat's going to come in my room. My wife wins out on that one. Make sure your bedroom is well ventilated and at a comfortable temperature. Learn a relaxation technique like meditation or progressive relaxation. Being well ventilated, just so you know, Susan uses a fan at night. It's blowing on her, not me. And it does 2 things. It keeps fresh air moving over her. It also is white noise. It helps her to fall asleep and stay asleep. Okay, so what's important about getting your blood sugar balanced here? Let's talk about keeping your HEC in check. We talked about that a little bit last week. It's important that HEC stands, again, as an acronym, hunger, energy, and cravings. If your HEC is in check and you're losing weight, don't change anything. Keep doing what we're doing. If your HEC is not in check, boy, we made a big jump from sleep to HEC in check. But Susan put the slide in here, so I want to talk about it. If your HEC is not in check, you have increased hunger, energy, and cravings. Again, we add 10 grams of fat, predominantly at nighttime. So that's when you can start adding the avocado or the salad dressing at nighttime. If your HEC is not in check, still not in check, subtract the fat and add 3 to 5 bites of carbohydrates. It's a half a cup of brown rice, half sweet potato. If your HEC is still not in check, you're going to add the fat back in. And if your HEC is not in check, you're probably not eating enough during the daytime. So you probably want to add 1 to 2 protein snacks. Okay, I'm going to take questions now. I'm just trying to go back and think of anything that I didn't cover in there because there's a bell going off in my head right now about, testosterone. That's what I wanted to talk about. Okay. And human growth hormone. Okay. How do we get our testosterone levels up naturally? Okay. One of the worst things that we could do is take a prescription testosterone supplement. With men, they use something called androgel. It's like a roll-on. You put it under your arms, gets absorbed into your skin, and so forth. Okay, I'm not a real big advocate of that. Let me tell you why. The reason a lot of times men's testosterones are so low is because the body wants to stay in a very safe area, and it knows that muscle is very expensive to keep. It takes a lot of energy to keep muscle running, kind of like the difference between a big truck engine burning fuel and a little motorcycle engine burning fuel, okay? We know that if you took a motorcycle engine and a big truck engine, you put 2 gallons of gas in each. Maybe like 3 hours later, the truck runs out, and 12 hours later, the motorcycle engine's still running, okay? Because it doesn't burn as much fuel. So if you're very sedentary and you're not exercising, okay, the body doesn't think you need it, so it's going to get rid of whatever you don't need. So you start to decrease your amount of lean mass, and in that process, you start to decrease the amount of testosterone, because testosterone helps to drive and build lean mass. So if you're trying to cut lean mass back, what's your body going to do? It's going to stop secreting as much testosterone. Also, human growth hormone. Human growth hormones for somebody who's prospering, okay? So if you're not moving and you're sitting around and not doing much, the production of human growth hormone is going to drop down as well. So that's a problem, because as your level of testosterone drops, the muscles in your soft palate become more not fatigued, placid. They don't suspend the roof of your palate as well, so it has a tendency to drop down. So that's another reason why low testosterone in men, along with obesity, causes sleep apnea. Now, one thing I didn't touch on with this. Oh, so how are we going to fix that? Exercise. There you go. But not just any exercise. You want to do intense exercise, because you want to get a hormonal shift through your exercise. So we do brief bouts of intense exercise. What we're trying to do, we're trying to produce breathlessness and burning. So we talk about the two B's, breathless and burning, and the 2 H's, hot and heavy. You want to move enough weight so that you can produce that. If you have too light of a weight, you're going to keep going on and on and on and on, and you don't never get to that breathless and burning environment. So you need enough weight to do that. And that's what Susan and I are here to teach you. So all the workouts that Susan gives you are designed to give you that hormonal response to exercise, the breathless and the burning. Now, one thing we didn't talk about with this, and I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about this, is another way to help with insomnia and sleep apnea is something called a CPAP machine. CPAP stands for constant passive air pressure. So I want you to think about a nice, thick vanilla milkshake and a paper straw. What happens to a paper straw when it gets too wet and it starts to get weak, and you're trying to suck the milkshake through the straw collapses, correct? Okay, we can all agree on that? Okay, well, that's what happens to the breathing passages. You have this pressure coming from the thorax down by the stomach, so to say, because that's where your diaphragm is. It's pulling air in. That's like you sucking through a straw. When the pressure gets to a certain level, the breathing passages start to collapse, okay? And it makes it impossible to breathe. You're stopping it. So the correction for that is people wake themselves up so they can start breathing again. But with the use of a CPAP machine, the pressure going in through the nose exceeds the pressure that's being produced that causes the air passages to collapse. So it's like blowing through a straw. The straw opens up and allows air to pass through, and then you get the bubbles in your milkshake, right? Or your bubbles in your chocolate milk, because you're blowing through the straw. So a CPAP machine can be a lifesaver. I have sleep apnea. I have had sleep apnea at 260 pounds when I was obese. I've had sleep apnea at 177 pounds. It doesn't matter. I have a lot of soft tissue. I don't want to get into genetics and all that, but I have a very small mouth. I've had 6 teeth removed just to make room for the other teeth. I've had braces. And that's a chronic situation. We see a lot of people now with very crowded teeth. If you had braces, there's a very good chance you have 3 pounds of soft tissue in a 2-pound bag, so to say. And you may have problems with sleep apnea later in life. I didn't have it so much when I was a kid, but as I got older, it became worse. As a matter of fact, when I was in college, when I was 20, 21, my roommate used to say, "Man, you snore horribly." Okay, and that's when I was in great shape. So go figure. So sleep apnea can affect a lot of different people. A CPAP is a very innocuous tool that you could use at nighttime. Again, it's a little device. You wear something over your nose, and it opens up all your breathing passages and you sleep fine. And I've been using one since 1994, so going on 20 some odd years, and I use it every night. And if I don't sleep with it, I definitely can feel a difference. And it could be sleep apnea could be so severe that it could be life-threatening. Okay, there was a very famous football player named Reggie White, played with the Philadelphia Eagles, and he played on the Super Bowl team with the Packers when they won the Super Bowl the first time. Well, in recent times, I know the Packers won Super Bowls in the 60s, but he had ballooned up to well over 400 pounds. He was actually being trained by a friend of mine, Will Smith, and he warned Reggie that if you don't correct your sleep apnea, this could kill you. And I think Reggie was 42 when he had a heart attack and died in his sleep. And he's not the first person that's happened to. So take it seriously. If your spouse tells you you're snoring or you're actually sound like you stop breathing in the middle of the night, sleep medicine is a huge form of medicine now. It's very easily corrected. You can go for a sleep study. They can determine whether a CPAP machine would work for you. I've had a couple sleep studies, and my CPAP works great for me. My last sleep study came out perfect. So let me jump back here, see if there's any questions at all. I'm in the chat room now. I see what I typed earlier, but I guess there's no questions. After I'm done with these, I always go on Facebook. You go to our Keenan Fitness 28-day challenge page, and you can ask me questions there. Okay, guys, I went a little longer than a half hour tonight. Everybody have a great week. If you have any questions, jump in the Facebook page or shoot us an email tomorrow. And for most of you, I'll probably see you while I'm training you or Susan's training you. So take care, have a great night, and we'll talk to you shortly. Bye-bye.